Chapter 7 Judging Others. This is also told in Luke 6:37, 38, 41, 42. Jesus said, "Don't condemn others, and God won't condemn you. God will be as hard on you as you are on others. He will treat you exactly as you treat them. You can see the speck in your friend's eye, but you don't notice the log in your own eye. How can you say, 'My friend, let me take the speck out of your eye,' when you don't see the log in your own eye? You're nothing but show-offs. First, take the log out of your own eye. Then you can see how to take the speck out of your friend's eye. Don't give to dogs what belongs to God. They will only turn and attack you. Don't throw pearls down in front of pigs. They will trample all over them. Ask, search, knock." This is also told in Luke 11:9-13. Jesus continued, "Ask, and you will receive. Search, and you will find. Knock, and the door will be opened for you. Everyone who asks will receive. Everyone who searches will find, and the door will be opened for everyone who knocks. Would any of you give your hungry child a stone if the child asked for some bread? Would you give your child a snake if the child asked for a fish? As bad as you are, you still know how to give good gifts to your children. But your heavenly Father is even more ready to give good things to people who ask. Treat others as you want them to treat you. This is what the law and the prophets are all about. The narrow gate. This is also told in Luke 13:24. Jesus continued, "Go in through the narrow gate. The gate to destruction is wide, and the road that leads there is easy to follow. A lot of people go through the gate, but the gate to life is very narrow. The road that leads there is so hard to follow that only a few people find it. A tree and its fruit." This is also told in Luke 6:43-45. Jesus continued, "Watch out for false prophets. They dress up like sheep, but inside they are wolves who have come to attack you. You can tell what they are by what they do. No one picks grapes or figs from thorn bushes. A good tree produces good fruit, and a bad tree produces bad fruit. A good tree cannot produce bad fruit, and a bad tree cannot produce good fruit. Every tree that produces bad fruit will be chopped down and burnt. You can tell who the false prophets are by their deeds." A warning. This is also told in Luke 13:26-27. Jesus continued, "Not everyone who calls me their Lord will get into the kingdom of heaven. Only the ones who obey my Father in heaven will get in. On the day of judgment, many will call me their Lord. They will say, 'We preached in your name, and in your name we forced out demons and performed many miracles.' But I will tell them, 'I will have nothing to do with you. Get out of my sight, you evil people.'" Two builders. This is also told in Luke 6:47-49. Jesus continued, "Anyone who hears and obeys these teachings of mine is like a wise person who built a house on solid rock. Rain poured down, rivers flooded, and winds beat against that house. But it did not fall because it was built on solid rock. Anyone who hears my teachings and doesn't obey them is like a foolish person who built a house on sand. The rain poured down, the rivers flooded, and the winds blew and beat against the house. Finally, it fell with a crash. When Jesus finished speaking, the crowds were surprised at his teaching. He taught them like someone with authority and not like the teachers of the law of Moses. Chapter 8. Jesus heals a man. This is also told in Mark 1:40-45, Luke 5:12-16. As Jesus came down the mountain, he was followed by large crowds. Suddenly a man with leprosy came and knelt in front of Jesus. He said, "Lord, you have the power to make me well, if only you wanted to." Jesus put his hand on the man and said, "I want to. Now you are well." At once the man's leprosy disappeared. Jesus told him, "Don't tell anyone about this, but go and show the priest that you are well. Then take our gift to the temple just as Moses commanded, and everyone will know that you have been healed." Jesus heals an army officer's servant. This is also told in Luke 7 1 to 10, John 4 43 to 54. When Jesus was going into the town of Capernaum, an army officer came up to him and said, "Lord, my servant is at home in such terrible pain that he can't even move. I will go and heal him," Jesus replied. But the officer said, "Lord, I am not good enough for you to come into my house. Just give the order, and my servant will get well. I have officers who give orders to me, and I have soldiers who take orders from me. I can say to one of them, 'Go,' and he goes. I can say to another, 'Come,' and he comes. I can say to my servant, 'Do this,' and he will do it." Jesus heard this. He was so surprised that he turned and said to the crowd following him, "I tell you that in all of Israel I have never found anyone with this much faith." Many people will come from everywhere to enjoy the feast in the kingdom of heaven with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, but the ones who should have been in the kingdom will be thrown out into the dark. They will cry and grit their teeth in pain. Then Jesus said to the officer, "You may go home now. Your faith has made it happen." At once his servant was healed. Jesus healed many people. This is also told in Mark 1:29 to 34, Luke 4:38 to 41. Jesus went to the home of Peter, where he found that Peter's mother-in-law was sick in bed with fever. He took her by the hand, and the fever left her. Then she got up and served Jesus a meal. That evening many people with demons in them were brought to Jesus, and with only a word he forced out the evil spirits and healed everyone who was sick. So God's promise came true, just as the prophet Isaiah had said. He healed our diseases and made us well. Some who wanted to go with Jesus. This is also told in Luke 9:57 to 62. When Jesus saw the crowd, he went across Lake Galilee. A teacher of the law of Moses came up to him and said, "Teacher, I'll go anywhere with you." Jesus replied, "Foxes have dens and birds have nests, but the Son of Man doesn't have a place to call his own." Another disciple said to Jesus, "Lord, let me wait till I bury my father." Jesus answered, "Come with me and let the dead bury their dead." Storm. This is also told in Mark 4:35 to 41, Luke 8:22 to 25. After Jesus left in a boat with his disciples, a terrible storm suddenly struck the lake, and waves started splashing into their boat. Jesus was sound asleep, so the disciples went over to him and woke him up. They said, "Lord, save us, we are going to drown." But Jesus replied, "Why are you so afraid? You don't have much faith." Then he got up and ordered the wind and the waves to calm down. Everything was calm. The men in the boat were amazed and said, "Who is this? Even the wind and the waves obey him." Two men with demons in them. This is also told in Mark 5 1 to 20 and Luke 8 26 to 38. After Jesus had crossed the lake, he came to shore near the town of Gadara and started down the road. Two men with demons in them came to him from the tombs. They were so fierce that no one could travel that way. Suddenly they shouted, "Jesus, Son of God, what do you want with us? Have you come to punish us before our time?" Not far from there, a large herd of pigs was feeding. So the demons begged Jesus, "If you force us out, please send us into those pigs." Jesus told them to go, and they went out of the man and into the pigs. All at once the pigs rushed down the steep bank into the lake and drowned. The people taking care of the pigs ran to the town and told everything, especially what had happened to the two men. Everyone in town came out to meet Jesus. When they saw him, they begged him to leave their part of the country. Chapter 9, Jesus heals a crippled man. This is also told in Mark 2 1 to 12, Luke 5:7-26. Jesus got into a boat and crossed back over to the town where he lived. Some people soon brought to him a crippled man lying on a mat. When Jesus saw how much faith they had, he said to the crippled man, "My friend, don't worry, your sins are forgiven." Some teachers of the law of Moses said to themselves, "Jesus must think he's God." But Jesus knew what was in their minds, and he said, "Why are you thinking such evil things? Is it easier for me to tell this crippled man that his sins are forgiven, or to tell him to get up and walk? But I will show you that the Son of Man has the right to forgive sins here on earth." So Jesus said to the man, "Get up, pick up your mat, and go on home." The man got up and went home. When the crowd saw this, they were afraid and praised God for giving such authority to people. Jesus chooses Matthew. This is also told in Mark 2:13-17, Luke 5:27-32. As Jesus was leaving, he saw a tax collector named Matthew sitting at the place for paying taxes. Jesus said to him, "Come with me." Matthew got up and went with him. Later, Jesus and his disciples were having dinner at Matthew's house. Many tax collectors and other sinners was also there. Some Pharisees asked Jesus' disciples, "Why does your teacher eat with tax collectors and other sinners?" Jesus heard them and answered, "Healthy people don't need a doctor, but sick people do. Go and learn what the scriptures mean when they say, 'Instead of offering sacrifices to me, I want you to be merciful to others.' I didn't come to invite good people to be my followers. I came to invite sinners." People ask about going without eating. This is also told in Mark 2:18-22, Luke 5:33-39. One day some followers of John the Baptist came and asked Jesus, "Why do we and the Pharisees often go without eating, while your disciples never do?" Jesus answered, "The friends of a bridegroom don't go without eating while he is still with them. But the time will come when he will be taken from them. Then they will go without eating. No one uses a new piece of cloth to patch old clothes. The patch would shrink and tear a bigger hole. No one pours new wine into old wineskins. The wine would swell and burst the old skins. Then the wine would be lost and the skins would be ruined. New wine must be put into new wineskins. Both the skins and the wine will then be safe. A dying girl and a sick woman. This is also told in Mark 5:21-43, Luke 8:42-56. While Jesus was still speaking, an official came and knelt in front of him. The man said, "My daughter has just died. Please come and place your hand on her. Then she will live again." Jesus and his disciples got up and went with the man. A woman who had been bleeding for 12 years came up behind Jesus and barely touched his clothes. She had said to herself, "If I can just touch his clothes, I will get well." Jesus turned. He saw the woman and said, "Don't worry, you are now well because of your faith." At that moment she was healed. When Jesus went into the home of the official and saw the musicians and the crowd of mourners, he said, "Get out of here. The little girl isn't dead. She is just asleep." Everyone started laughing at Jesus, but after the crowd had been sent out of the house, Jesus went to the girl's bedside. He took her by the hand and helped her up. News about it spread all over that part of the country. Jesus heals two blind men. As Jesus was walking along, two blind men began following him and shouting, "Son of David, have pity on us." After Jesus had gone indoors, the two blind men came up to him. He asked them, "Do you believe I can make you well?" "Yes, Lord," they answered. Jesus touched their eyes and said, "Because of your faith, you will be healed." There they were able to see, and Jesus strictly warned them not to tell anyone about him. But they left and talked about him to everyone in that part of the country. Jesus healed a man who could not talk. As Jesus and his disciples were on their way, some people brought to him a man who could not talk because a demon was in him. After Jesus had forced the demon out, the man started talking. The crowds were so amazed that they began saying, "Nothing like this has ever happened in Israel." But the Pharisees said, "The leader of the demons gives him the power to force out demons." Jesus has pity on people. Jesus went to every town and village. He taught in their meeting places and preached the good news about God's kingdom. Jesus also healed every kind of disease and sickness. When he saw the crowds, he felt sorry for them. They were confused and helpless like sheep without a shepherd. He said to his disciples, "A large crop is in the fields, but there are only a few workers. Ask the Lord in charge of the harvest to send out workers to bring it in." Chapter 10. Jesus chooses his 12 apostles. This is also told in Mark 3:13 to 19. Luke 6:12 to 16. Jesus called together his 12 disciples. He gave them the power to force out evil spirits and to heal every kind of disease and sickness. The first of the 12 apostles was Simon, better known as Peter. His brother Andrew was an apostle, and so were James and John, two sons of Zebedee. Philip, Bartholomew, Thomas, Matthew, the tax collector, James, the son of Alphaeus, and Thaddeus were also apostles. The others were Simon, known as the Eager One, and Judas Iscariot, who later betrayed Jesus. Instructions for the 12 apostles. This is also told in Mark 6:7-13, Luke 9:1-6. Jesus sent out 12 apostles with these instructions: "Stay away from the Gentiles and don't go to any Samaritan town. Go only to the people of Israel, because they are like a flock of lost sheep. As you go, announce that the kingdom of heaven will soon be here. Heal the sick, raise the dead to life, heal people who have leprosy, and force out demons. You received without paying, now give without being paid. Don't take along any gold, silver, or copper coins, and don't carry a traveling bag or an extra shirt or sandals or a walking stick. Workers deserve their food, so when you go to a town or a village, find someone worthy enough to have you as their guest and stay with them until you leave. When you go to a home, give it your blessing of peace. If the home is deserving, let your blessing remain with them. But if the home isn't deserving, take back your blessing of peace. If someone won't welcome you or listen to your message, leave their home or town and shake the dust from your feet at them. I promise you that the day of judgment will be easier for the towns of Sodom and Gomorrah than for that town. Warning about trouble. This is also told in Mark 13:9-13, Luke 21:12-17. Jesus continued, "I am sending you like lambs into a pack of wolves, so be as wise as snakes and as innocent as doves. Watch out for people who will take you to court and have you beaten in their meeting places. Because of me, you will be dragged before rulers and kings to tell them and the Gentiles about your faith. But when someone arrests you, don't worry about what you will say or how you will say it. At that time, you will be given the words to say, but you will not really be the one speaking. The Spirit from your Father will tell you what to say. Brothers and sisters will betray one another and have each other put to death. Parents will betray their own children, and children will turn against their parents and have them killed. Everyone will hate you because of me, but if you remain faithful until the end, you will be saved. When people ill-treat you in one town, hurry to another one. I promise you that before you have gone to all the towns of Israel, the Son of Man will come. Disciples are not better than their teacher, and slaves are not better than their master. It is enough for disciples to be like their teacher and for slaves to be like their master. If people call the head of the family Satan, what will they say about the rest of the family? The one to fear. This is also told in Luke 12:2-7. Jesus continued, "Don't be afraid of anyone. Everything that is hidden will be found out, and every secret will be known. Whatever I say to you in the dark, you must tell it in the light, and you must announce from the housetops whatever I have whispered to you. Don't be afraid of people. They can kill you, but they cannot harm your soul. Instead, you should fear God, who can destroy both your body and your soul in hell. Aren't two sparrows sold for only a penny? But your Father knows that when any one of them falls to the ground, even the hairs on your head are counted. So don't be afraid. You are worth much more than many sparrows. Telling others about Christ. This is also told in Luke 12:8, 9. Jesus continued, if you tell others that you belong to me, I will tell my Father in heaven that you are my followers. But if you reject me, I will tell my Father in heaven that you don't belong to me. Not peace, but trouble. This is also told in Luke 12:51, 53, 14, 26, 27. Jesus continued, don't think that I came to bring peace to the earth. I came to bring troubled peace. I came to turn sons against their fathers, daughters against their mothers, and daughters-in-law against their mothers-in-law. Your worst enemies will be in your own family. If you love your father or mother or even your sons and daughters more than me, you are not fit to be my disciples, and unless you are willing to take up your cross and come with me, you are not fit to be my disciples. If you try to save your life, you will lose it, but if you give it up for me, you will find it. Rewards. This is also told in Mark 9:41. Jesus continued, anyone who welcomes you welcomes me, and anyone who welcomes me also welcomes the one who sent me. Anyone who welcomes a prophet just because that person is a prophet will be given the same reward as a prophet. Anyone who welcomes a good person just because that person is good will be given the same reward as a good person. And anyone who gives one of my most humble followers a cup of cool water just because that person is my follower will be rewarded.